Hi everyone, next Monday the 6th at 7 p.m. I will be doing the next Skillshare, which will be on diving, which I am just so delighted to talk about because, as many of you know, it is my favourite thing. So I will talk a little bit about some of my experience now in this video, and then let me know beforehand any questions, either in the comments or drop me a message, and then live next Monday at 7 o'clock. I'll talk a little bit more about it, and then I'll be answering any questions that people have. So I have been scuba diving for about 15 years, and it is the most incredible experience. And when I'm down there, and whenever I meet people who don't dive, I just want to say, why aren't you down here? Like, seriously, it's like another world. It is completely out of this world, anything you've ever seen. I'm sure many of you have snorkeled and you would have experienced some of that as well, but diving just takes it to that other level, and that real sort of freedom of being able to explore even more some of the incredible things that you see. And it's just beautiful. Absolutely the most beautiful scenery I have ever seen. I mainly have done all my diving in mainly tropical waters because I do not like to be cold. Although it is an ambition of mine to do some cold ice freediving and to also learn to dive in cooler waters, but that requires something called a dry suit and a bit more tech, so I haven't got there yet. And also I like to be warm, and also tropical seas is where the coral reefs are, and of course if anyone's seen anything like the Blue Planet or Planet Earth, you'll know that it's just amazing. And all I can say to you on that note is that it's just like that. When you go somewhere that's incredible diving, and you don't have to go that far, it is just like being in the Blue Planet. So yeah, why aren't you down there? You know, if you haven't, look into it. Start looking at pictures, come to my live, watch some videos, and just start to get a feel for how magical it is. So I think lots of people have there's lots of myths around it and lots of questions, and so I'll cover just a couple of those now. It is not, and doesn't have to be, very expensive. For those of us who are into outdoor things, there are things which you can spend a lot of money on in any hobby that you're doing. When I started, I certainly didn't have a lot of money, and you know, I saved up to go on holiday anyway, like a lot of people, and saving for the diving was part of that. But it doesn't have to be really expensive. We are very lucky in the UK that we have Egypt close by. That's where I learned, which is absolutely incredible place, incredible people, and the diving, they take it extremely seriously there because it's so much a part of their tourism, and they take really good care of their reefs, and they have a protected national park. That's one of the first things I would advise, is to go somewhere really good to learn, and it was not expensive at all. So that's a vote for Egypt, and I can talk a bit more about that in the live next week, and some beautiful things. They're absolutely incredible. So it doesn't have to be expensive, including people say, oh, the kit's expensive. Well, when you get into any hobby, you can buy as much or as little kit as you want, and you can have this top of the range here, middle of the range. It's the same as everything, but to be honest, I have not bought loads of kit, and I have had the most incredible times in my life. I've hired it, and again, when you're going with reputable diving schools and you do your research, you know the kit is going to be tested and it's going to be safe, and that's the same as if you're going to be hiring a kayak or using a climbing harness. So you don't have to, you know, spend a fortune on kit to enjoy yourself. You just don't, especially if you're not going to do it that regularly, you know, to fork out on all that kit for once a year. I haven't bothered. Lots of people will tell you differently, but that's just my opinion. Other things, questions that people often ask is, oh, is it scary? Is it dangerous? To that I would say anything is dangerous if you're an idiot. You know, if you're gonna be stupid and not follow the rules and things like that, anything can be dangerous. But it isn't per se dangerous, no. And if you are following the rules, if you're going with a reputable agency, if you're always with a guide, if you're listening, you know, all of those things. There is risk involved, but it isn't inherently dangerous, in my opinion. And to the scary point, I would also say that if I can do it, anyone can do it. I really wanted to dive for years because I'd seen documentaries and I thought it looked great, and I really wanted to. And I did one of those sort of try dives once, and I was like, oh, this is cool, but you don't really get to do or see much. And another time, I actually did sort of try and had a bit of a sort of a freak out, maybe not quite a panic attack, but I was sort of freaking out, had to go back to the surface, and then tried again, freaked out again. And but that almost made me more determined that I would do it. And it was all in my mind, like many, many things. It's about getting your mind in the right place to be prepared to try something new and to get over that sort of unknown thing. And like many, many things, confidence is a result, not a requirement. I'm now a very confident diver and a very able diver, but that came as a result of having the great instructors, following the great guides, doing all that sort of, doing the right course, learning properly and taking my time. And yeah, that confidence came with time, but I always had the enjoyment factor once I'd got through the initial kind of, this is unknown. But as many of you know, stepping outside your comfort zone and kind of just trying to tolerate a little bit more uncertainty and something unknown is when you get the best rewards. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. It's just incredible. There's something for everybody as well. I think, people often think of adrenaline junkies doing stuff, and you can make it as exciting or as pedestrian as you like. Now I'm so used to it that I liken a beautiful dive with no current and drama to going for a lovely walk in a lovely garden. It's that once you're used to it, it's that gentle. But you can go and seek out the places where there are big currents and things like that. And I've seen incredible things. I've seen manta rays, I've seen sharks, turtles, just the teeniest, tiniest pygmy seahorses. But again, I had to wait and put that sort of on my bucket list when I first started. I wanted to go to some incredible world's best diving sites and do some of those. And gradually I got there, and it was such a real sort of feeling of achievement when I did, because I'd saved up and I'd wanted to go and I'd done my research, and I guess that's very similar to everything. These days, you can see the poster here in my office. It says, "And into the ocean I go to lose my mind and find my soul." And that really is how I feel about it. For me now, it is like an active meditation. You are so bombarded with so many things in your senses that you can see that it's just incredibly beautiful. There's no time for your mind to be doing anything else. And for me, I used to have depression years ago, and I went diving shortly after I'd got well, and it was one of the few times I can remember just feeling so at peace and just, in that real sense of calm and belonging, and my mind was free of anything else. So that's been a really wonderful, unexpected benefit, because when I started, I was like many people, so overexcited to see everything. Oh my god, it's so amazing, like look what's down here, oh my god, a turtle, and then you go rushing off after it. And now it's, I'm still excited, but I'm more experienced, so I enjoy it in a slightly calmer way to conserve a bit more of my air. So that's a little bit about why I dive and why I love it, and a couple of the myths busted. And if you'd like to hear more, what's the coolest stuff I've seen, the countries I've been, what recommendations I'd have, if I was going to buy any kit, what would it be, any scary stories, like any questions, if you want to know, drop me a message, put them in the comments here, and come along to the live next week to hear a bit more about my experience of diving. And I also now have learnt to free dive, which is a totally different experience but also phenomenal, so I very happily talk about that as well. So yeah, I'll briefly say now, free diving, if you don't know, is going as long as you can on one breath with no apparatus at all. So the complete opposite of scuba diving, and they're very different, but they, to me, bring similar sense of peace and calm. And so I can talk a little bit more about that, but I'm really a beginner in that, so I don't have a lot of experience, whereas with scuba diving I've got a lot more. So I'd love to see you there on my live. That's next Monday, the 6th of July at 7 p.m, and look forward to answering more of your questions then. See you guys. Bye.